Good morning. Good morning to everyone. And we are back for our first Friday live for the new year, which we're extremely excited about. And as you can see, that we have a new face on here with us. We are so pleased to have Simone join us today. I will tell you all about her in a second. I just want to say that we're so happy to be here again, starting out, again, 2024 with this project. It was only about a month and a half old, ending the year. And so we're so excited that this is going to be our first full year to ramp up and really do a lot more of these interviews. Um, and we just both Lee and myself, have realized how much that we receive from doing these, and we didn't anticipate it. Like, we were doing this truly, honestly, as a way to connect female entrepreneurs. And the silver lining has been the inspiration that we get. And just as inspiring as everyone, which is totally a setup of greatness, we have Simone with us. And I am not going to spoil her background too much. She can tell us a little bit more about us, but I was just bragging before you jumped on with us, Simone, to Lee. I'm like, she's a mom. Like, she's a mom, and yet she's so knowledgeable and has so much experience that it's just inspiring. So we're so grateful and lucky to have you today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Of course. Of course. And now you have not had the chance to really get to know Lee. So this is a great opportunity for you two to talk today as well. And the reason why we do this is I am a little bit of a older entrepreneur, as you are, whereas Lee is a young entrepreneur. She's within her first year of being an entrepreneur. So within this group, we're a great representation of what this group offers, is that we have women that are experienced entrepreneurs, younger entrepreneurs, and it's just an amazing mix for us to be able to all have conversations, obviously network, support each other, but really be inspired by each other. So would you start out by telling us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and how you have made it through all the tough times to be standing today? I know that's a really big question. I apologize. That was like five questions in one, but whatever way you want to answer that.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I've had my business for a couple decades, and there's definitely been some hurdles to go through. I I used to run law firms, I left because I was a mom and I had little ones, and I running law firms is kind of a full time 20-hour a day job.
Yeah.
And I knew if I kept doing it, I wouldn't have a relationship with my kids. And so I needed to find a way. And I loved my job. And so I needed to find a way to do what I loved and, and, and be able to spend time with them.
So then you segued into what you do currently. Is that correct?
That's right. I did it. And I spent, I left and we created the practice. I had a business partner at the time, and I did contract CFO, and I have a tax and accounting firm, small. We're in fact, at this point, we're virtual and have been for about 16 years. So before the pandemic, we were virtual.
So you were really a trendsetter, not a follower at that
Yeah,
point.
we were not average. And we did it as a lifestyle, for our staff. And so that was not normal, but we did it because I wanted to be there when the kids were there. And in this industry, as a tax and accounting firm, that wasn't normal. So it was really to support my children. And at the time I did it, my husband had a construction firm and he did remodels. And if anybody knows that it was kind of a trade-off where he had, between the two of us, we shifted our lifestyle so we can we love being parents. And so that was that. As anybody who loves their kids and loves parenting, that was it. And and then, as you know, they got bigger, and our children are now in their 30s, and I have two grandbabies, 2 and 12. They're in the office. My daughters work with me now.
That's wonderful.
In fact, part of what I was sharing with Marissa was my daughter and daughter-in-law. Right before the pandemic, I bought my business partner out, And
Oh,
in my that's kind of where I'm new as an entrepreneur was I've turned in the last year our daily operations over to my daughters. And in
oh,
turning daily operations,
amazing.
that was like a whole new era of turning daily operations. And they're the age I was when we started the practice and turning the daily operations over to them. And, uh, and that was definitely new. And being able to, I don't know, they're entrepreneurs. My daughter, is for her, she's never, for the first this year has been like, I'm gonna, tank the business, and all the fears that we have as first year entrepreneurs was just really shifting from being an employee or being raised by entrepreneurs to now being an entrepreneur. I mean, she's been learning cash flow and running, and I'm right back with her, right? Like that phenomena of letting go of all the
Yes.
things I used to do to have
Mhm.
everything be seamless, and spending the last year in the bumpiness of it's like being in a 20-year business, but with the first year entrepreneurness.
Yes.
Like, I have a long time networking group, and she's like, okay, well, the it didn't run. And I'm like, because she hasn't moved money out of the income account into the expense account. And you're like, okay, all right, well, we got to get the flow down.
Mhm.
But it's okay, like it all works out. But it's but that's like all the things I used to do on automatic, I have to
Right.
now articulate and develop for her
As a system. Yeah.
as a system. And that was part of this year, was taking everything that I was just automatically doing when I came out of daily operations and creating a system.
It's interesting because I didn't realize, because we had this conversation previously.
Mhm.
And thank you for sharing it again. I was hoping you would. If not, I was going to ask you about it. But one thing I didn't realize that until this moment, I'm raised by entrepreneurial parents. And so as an automatic, my parents always told me I would be an entrepreneur too. But my children now, that's an automatic normalization, that becoming an entrepreneur is very normal, and creating a new company that creates positions for this economy, things of that nature, is just very natural within our family.
Mhm.
And it was normalized within your family too. And working together as a family is very normal. And I love that because it's few and far between families that have that experience. Lee comes from an entrepreneurial family as well. So
Mhm.
we were both raised by families that entrepreneurialism was very normal, and that when there were things going on and disasters strike, it's all hands on deck, and
Yeah.
everybody helps. Doesn't matter how old you are, you
Yeah.
help. It's just
Yeah.
how it goes. And we both have those memories. And it's just truly, honestly amazing. And I know from your viewpoint looking down right now, it's like it is a bit of a stress because it's a transition, right? And there's those transition moments. But I could tell you from the child standpoint, it's amazing because it's instilling confidence for your children to take this training that you're giving them and apply it in any direction whatsoever. Not just the situation they're in right now with you, but what if they wanted to start something with their children on the side, or something different, or build something else? They can, because they'll have the tools. So
Yeah.
I really, honestly, I commend you, that should be a normal part of parenting in my evaluation. But again, that's just because of the training I had growing up, that is normal. Lee, is there anything you want to add to this? Because I could keep talking to Simone all day, so I don't want to cut you out of the conversation as well.
I like the fact that, or actually, I love the fact that you were able to kind of hand over the reins a little bit to your daughter, and actually, I hadn't thought about it, but what Missy just brought up about being a child of an entrepreneur. My dad, he had his own business for a while. He also, like, at some point he had to close down the business he was in, and then he started working secularly as a HVAC, heating and air conditioning um, person. And I remember having to get up early in the morning to go help him clean, because he had he called it a maintenance company, but he just did all kinds of things, and some of the things that he did was clean. So clean office buildings, clean restaurants. And so, yeah, I remember, especially during the summertime when I wasn't in school, in high school, but mostly, but had getting up in the morning or, you know, staying out late cleaning, or he actually handed me a couple of the restaurants. He handed them to me to do myself. So I was there doing them by myself. So yeah, I just love this because I firmly believe that this instills a strong work ethic into the children of entrepreneurs. I couldn't think of anything else but working hard at whatever I'm doing. Right now, I have, besides Grit and King, I have a secular job, and me and my husband clean on the weekends. So I can't see living any other way, but I just love it because it instills strong work ethic. And yes, it gives us the ability to kind of create our own income streams, the ability to, find creative ways to make money. And I just love it. I do. It's right there in line with, the way Missy and I grew up. So I love it.
And it's true though that, like we've gone through that transition within our company, not from parent to child, but between myself to Alethea, and then there's some others where we've handed off responsibilities. And I've gone through that too, where it's like, okay, hold on, but this is the way I do it. And it's not necessarily wrong when somebody does it a different way. It's just different. But it is different because I'm the same of, this is the system I've used for for so long, and this is the way it works. But it is a wonderful thing when you can hand things off, and it does work no matter what, meaning the system is good. Even if you apply it differently than I do, the system works. Okay, that's when I could rest, at least for myself. As long as I know the results are the same, whatever way the system is applied, it's okay. It's cool. But it is a very difficult thing, and it's a necessary step in growth, but it also is the pain part. And it's really difficult because it's like we have to get to the edge of our comfort zone to grow personally, professionally, our businesses. And then we're also inviting other people into that uncomfortable zone at the same time and saying, okay, sit here in the uncomfortable spot with me. Yeah. Let's do this together. It'll be fun. And we're thinking, oh, it will be fun, right?
It's really good that you say that, because at the end of 22, I was saying to my business coach, whom I had known for years and had worked with for years, at the end of 2019 is when I bought out my business partner. And then I effectively bought her side of the business because I didn't have anything to do with it. So it was very much like becoming a new business owner on that side of the business. Right. Yes. And so I bought that side of the business, and then we went into the pandemic, and we really discovered, I have to retool this. Just what you said, with systems. I went back in, and I am definitely a systems person, and put in systems. And Ellie, who's my daughter, and I, and my daughter-in-law is Natasha, went to work on. We were putting in systems that we know work. Natasha and I, she works with me on the tax side, have worked together for years, and then Ellie had just joined us in that year, and we just went to work on systems. And so they are definitely aligned with me on systems. We went to work on systems.
That works then, yes.
Yep, and they're aligned. And so, and I let them pick the technologies we did, and they were their systems. And yesterday somebody asked me something about having to have an admin password or something. And I was like, well, I don't have any of those. I'm not the admin on any of our systems. That's not me. But we got them all in. And then at the end of but it was funny, at the end of 22, I said to my business coach, I'm the lid.
Yes.
I just, like I could say that like, oh, as some like business owner says, but I can definitely tell I'm the lid as the entrepreneur, as a contract CFO and, consultant for years. I've said, oh, yeah, that owner's the lid. So I'm on the outside. I can't see in, but I
Of course.
definitely know I'm the lid.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of 22, when we transitioned, and as an entrepreneur, you have that thought like,
Magnuson Group, Alethea speaking.
I'm
Good morning, dear. How are
Lee,
you?
I'm good. Hey, Paula, can I call you back?
Lee, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Whenever you're done,
Oh,
thanks. Bye.
okay. Bye.
Apologize. Lee's still balancing everything out. I'm so sorry, Simone.
no worries. So, but so in 23, when we started to take me out, we could really, when you said like the growth and systems, it was really finding where, as the owner, and the person who had implemented that all, where you become, as a business, that entrepreneur where you will wear many hats.
Yes.
I had become the lid. What like something, but then you start to experience it in your business, and so that was one thing, and it was really valuable and inspiring to watch them, Ellie and Natasha begin to take. And my daughter said, Ellie, my daughter said something. She was like, well, isn't Natasha going to be isn't this going to be a 50-50? And I was like, okay, first of all, Natasha is an introvert, and she is not as risk tolerant as you.
That's a very good point.
To your point, right? Like,
Yes.
Natasha's great.
Mm-hmm.
She can see things. She definitely runs the tax practice as the tax practice manager. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not going to take the reins to the degree you are.
Well, and you bring up a very good point that we talk all the time about when we bring somebody in, their strengths and their weaknesses. And weakness is not as a negative. It's just
No.
everybody, each of us have things that we're good at and we're bad at, and we always call it out for ourselves within our system. And you bring up a very good point that you were being cautious and watching to see, okay, this person's strength is not going to be there. Don't put them in that pressure, that situation, because it's going to be a failure. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs think this is a great person, I can rely on them. That's not the case. That you can be best of friends with somebody and love them to death, but you have to know that everybody's going to have places to be placed within a hierarchy. It's just the reality of it. And I mean, I'm the first one to call myself out that I'm better big picture than small detail. And when I get into VA mode, I'm not going to be as one as cheerful. Absolutely true. And Lee knows this. And
Yes.
also, like anything small, like email organization, Lee will totally call me out on this one. I have no patience for it. Organizing my email inbox sounds like torture to me. And I know it's a little thing, but it's just torturous. I'm like, I've got a million other tasks that are way more important than doing that. So then it just piles up, and then I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But I physically cannot spend the time on those kind of tasks when I know there are big drivers that I need to stay focused on.
Mm-hmm.
I need to keep my head up and looking forward and stay in that role of pushing forward. And we use the example. So I know, Simone, we've talked about this a little bit, but that I have my business partner, which is my life partner. So we also don't have equal roles. We both have picked different things to really concentrate on. And Lee is really the third that kind of rounds out our pillars, but we each have different strengths. And because of it, it works really well. But they both know when I'm getting into that VA mode, I'm like, okay, you guys got to pull me out. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative. But you brought up a very, 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 very good point that I want to acknowledge, that when you purchase the other part of your company, you were a brand new entrepreneur. And please, we have to talk about this. Lee, I know you get where we're going on this too. But this is for anybody else that catches this in the replay, that a lot of entrepreneurs do not realize when you're starting out that you are never going to be a jack of all trades. And this is not talking about what you're good and bad at. I'm not talking about your strengths and weaknesses. This is a different subject. This is the subject of being an entrepreneur does not mean you need to be the photographer, web designer, accountant, and also the janitor. At first you do, but you also need to learn to pick your battles very quickly and know, okay, I have to outsource this, or I need to hire somebody for this part. And that discernment process is really difficult. But what you said was perfect. Just because it was a part of your business doesn't mean you knew all of it at the moment. So, how did you overcome that? That is something that's, I think, very crucial for younger entrepreneurs to hear.
Let's see. I'm just looking to give you the most.
I know that's a very big umbrella question, but
yeah. Well, so when I bought the business, I thought there were valuable employees, and there were not. So I had to very quickly ascertain: do I keep these employees or not? And of the 5 employees, I kept 1.
Wow.
So,
which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is.
For a business,
4 bodies is a lot.
10 employees now. That was. So I learned. My mother-in-law was a senior HR specialist, and she always said, "You hire slowly and fire quickly."
I like that. I'm stealing that. Tell her thank you.
Yeah. Hire slowly and fire quickly. So we let 4 of them go, and we kept one. She still works for us. And we replaced them with, they just weren't, I couldn't sleep at night. They weren't the caliber of employee I wanted to work with. I literally couldn't have slept at night. I found out that the systems they were using were inadequate for the level. So I brought in systems. So I reduced the revenue and brought in systems. And now our revenues are twice what they were then. Now that
but at the time, it was probably
the hit to my revenue, but the risk in the type of work we were doing. So those were the 2 things. And the type of work we do, I brought in more competent employees who could actually do the work and reduce the. What I found out was that my business partner and the other person, which was significantly more expensive, both those people were the system.
Which you bring up a great point that a lot of corporate environments, and Lee and I have had this conversation because she had this same situation for herself, that you go into a new job, you find that you have this pretty desk, pretty office, and they give you about a day of attention, and then the rest is figure it out. There is no system. It's handed down and watered down.
Yeah.
And I commend you so much that at that moment of saying, okay, we're going to fire, we're going to step back, and then we're going to regrow. Sounds great. But there's that moment where you've done it, and then you're like, this is going to work. Yeah, it's going to work. It's really scary.
It's really scary. We're in the business of payrolls.
Yeah.
And, so it was a big deal. It was a big deal. But, on the flip side, several years later,
it was the right thing to do.
It was the right thing to do. And then we went right into a pandemic. And had we not done it, I don't know what would have happened in terms of the exposure and risk, et cetera.
So how did you talk yourself through that? And I don't mean that in a negative. Okay, please don't think I'm asking for what was the conversation.
Well, I had just negotiated buying a partner out, and I'm a fairly good negotiator. So, for somebody who wanted, I negotiated her to 1/3 of what she wanted.
Wow.
With no interest, which was, I don't know, pretty good. Out over a 4-year period, so no interest over 4 years was pretty good. And I, when it went down, and I had to give myself permission that I could burn the house to the ground. If I got in and found that it was rotten, I gave myself an worst case scenario. I was going to pay her a lump of money and still could burn it to the ground.
I love
that whole side, right? Because
that is a wonderful idea, to not just say I give myself permission, but I can burn it. I can destroy it if I have to.
Yeah, because it was, I had to, because I didn't know what I was going to find. And I didn't want to do something that was inconsistent with, that would be more terrible than just letting it go. And then, so that was a big deal. And then we waded in and found out what was going on. And the biggest thing that I encountered was I had to reset client expectations.
Ooh,
I apologize. I'm so
bless you.
sorry. I'm just getting over being sick, so I'm sniffing today. I
I'm
apologize.
glad you're on the mend.
Yes, I am.
So is that kind of more like
Yes.
I really had to get in, and that was the biggest deal, was to reset client expectations, because again,
Yes.
I hadn't been in that side, I hadn't been interacting with those clients, and that was the biggest, is to reestablish our relationship, the
Absolutely.
business's relationship, not a personal relationship,
Yes.
and the brand, create a brand and really begin to have it be the company's relationship, and and that definitely took something. And we didn't
So,
really.
what prompted that change? Was it just a gut instinct? Was it some investigation? Was it employee standards? What was it that's really set that whole course off of saying this needed to happen?
The partner leaving?
Yes. Yes.
Her.
Oh, okay.
Well, what set? Well, no, I know what set it off. I retired as the contract CFO, and as a contract CFO, it's exactly what it sounds like. You make a lot of money. You're one person, and you don't have a lot of overhead. So for a company, you make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
As my husband would say, how come you don't bring that all home? And I used to split it. It would go into the company coffers, and I would take home whatever that was. It used to just make him crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped doing that. I retired out of being a contract CFO. You deal with CEOs who are a little bit cray-cray, because you're working through, usually, I did a lot of turnaround work as a contract CFO.
Mm-hmm.
And I was tired of doing it.
Yeah.
I had done it for 20 years, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And what I wanted to do was work with smaller businesses, because those were $20 to $45 million companies. They were larger.
Yes.
Doing turnaround work with them, obtaining financing, the cash flowing them, getting them through whatever that valley was for them, and even back on a positive cash flow, like whatever that valley was. If 20 to 45 million is valley. Mm-hmm. So, and then the rest of our business was working with $500,000 to $10 million, which is significantly less than that.
Yes. And
I wanted to go back to working with that and doing some sort of smaller profit first type of work, which as a CFO, you really are doing profit first kind of work. So you're saying, I'm going to be profitable. You're going to forecast a profit, and then you're going to do the accounting work to do it and to forecast some sort of revenue. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, within about 18 months, my business partner was going nutty. And it's because she was not really managing her side of the business well. Mm-hmm. She was just off of the fat of the CFO work.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So her inconsistencies were more visible the more
when the tide of all that money went away. And the tax practice is a profitable tax practice, and then when I started poking around in the balance sheet, she started, the longer I was home, so to speak, she got a little nutty, and finally one day had a tantrum and said, I quit.
Oh,
not like that. She said, you have to buy me out, and da 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 da. And I could get it, when somebody's there looking over your shoulder.
Well, especially when you're used to
kind of doing whatever you want. I was kind of an absent partner. I would just be out doing stuff and came back. And it's word for anybody who has partners is being very clear. I thought I was clear, and it's the world of, everybody's like, what was the one lesson you learned? Mine was like, trust but verify.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But again, back to the full circle of systems. If the systems are in place, everything is very transparent.
It's
you
think it is. It's so funny. I'm like the cobbler where her children had no shoes. I would ask something about our balance sheet, and everybody's like, it's embarrassing to say, because if you ask me as a CFO, what's the number one thing I would tell my clients, I was like, your balance sheet has to be flat. And that's actually was the point of contention. As I got back into our books and I started looking at our books, and I said, this balance sheet isn't flat. It's wonky. Our equity is off. This doesn't make any sense. And I push. And then I get off to something else. Something happened with our clients, or I close, because I did our business development primarily for all the years we were together. And I get off on another client engagement and bring them on board. And then I come back to our conversation. And so it really was that our balance sheet was off. And it was just, she'd gotten kind of do what she wanted to do. And the longer I pushed and the longer I got into margins and the more. And it was, if you've been able to do exactly what you want and not really account to anybody.
Yes.
And now somebody's coming along going, well, what about this? And the margins aren't really there. And I don't understand. And how come? And you said, and all of a sudden she was just losing her mind. And I think she was newly married in the world of, I've been married for 35 years and she'd been married for like 3. And I was like, what about this? And how about that? And I think she's just ready.
Well, and again, too, that we all have a learning process as entrepreneurs and in management situations, whatever, or positions that require us to lead. You also have a learning curve, just like a marriage. We don't know how to be married when we first get married, and we don't know how to be CEOs or CFOs or whatever that may be the day that we get that title. It's a maturity process. And but you also, again, that's where the personal growth and the humility has to come in, that we have to be willing to say, I don't know this part, or I need more knowledge on this part. And I think that is part of the problem too, that a lot of people, they make a mistake, and instead of stepping back and saying, I acknowledge what has happened, I need some assistance, corporate America has taught us to just push forward and to figure it out. And sometimes that means a little too much whiteout and a lot less accountability.
Yeah. Yes. Because she's now moved to Montana, has the same size practice she had when I met her, has her little, and it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But hopefully she's learned along the way too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fine. And we've grown. We grew over the size of, incrementally. We didn't shrink over COVID.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
And we grew, given everything that we were tending to that happened. And we brought both of my daughter and daughter-in-law forward in management and developed them. So I now have my daughter-in-law managing the tax practice.
Which again, there's that incredible trust and transparency, and what's going on. That's amazing.
Yeah. And Ellie is running daily operations. And this year really grew a lot. And also for me, I grew as an entrepreneur to have, I read all the kind of books that everybody tells you, like Strength to Strength, which pissed me off the first time I read it. Anybody's ever read Strength to Strength?
That's not what I have, so I'm going to have to. I'll let you know if
have to begin with. It's an entrepreneurial book that tells you, you have to, it is for entrepreneurs because it is for people with an entrepreneurial mindset. And it tells you, oh, well, as you get to like my age, you got to bring people in and have you, because it's like, okay, for serial entrepreneurs, if you're going to have multiple businesses, whether you're 20 or 50, you got to bring in a team and you can have 4 or 5 or 6 businesses.
Yes.
But you're going to have a team of people to run it. So the first time I read it, I was like, my eyes rolling back and I was sweating. And then of course the people are like, okay, here's another book, Younger Next Year. And there's a male and female. I just read the male version. Mm-hmm. But again, it was like, okay, there's just some practices you got to do every day. And so I read those kind of books this year, and I was like, okay, we're doing okay, because I just still think like an entrepreneur. It's not, I don't think I'm ever not going to. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur. I didn't think I was an entrepreneur, and then of course like that, and it does. I don't think that thinking goes away.
No, it doesn't.
Like you make the plan, you work the plan. Okay, now we're done with the plan. I am not an administrator. I'll never be an administrator. I want to work the plan, make that plan, work the plan. Okay, now let's go make another plan, right, and move on. So
yes. Yeah, and it's always forge ahead and don't wait for anybody to tell you that it's due. It's just get it done, right? The list is always just a get it done list.
To get it done.
It's funny because like I always when I'm coaching somebody and they say, but I have so much to do. I'm like, okay, you're gonna start a daily to-do list, a weekly, a monthly, yes. But then you're gonna start a do not do list.
That's right.
And all those other crazy ideas. And it's funny because you said, CEOs craziness, and it's so true because we are great at being creating problems and also new ideas, but that's the point is you are supposed to be creative. You're supposed to forge ahead and find the crazy skipping path through the forest. But at the same time, that's why the do not do list comes in. And that's where you dump all those crazy ideas because it's not that they're bad ideas. Don't get rid of them, but do not touch them right now, please. And it's discerning those points. And it's so funny because, like you said, the entrepreneurial side, that crazy side needs to stay because that's how you do build.
It is, and it was funny. Ellie was in here the other day, and she was bringing a client to me whom I knew 5 months ago would leave because they're crazy. But so she comes into the conversation. She's like, "How come?" So we get to the conversation. I say, "Look, 5 months ago, I knew they would leave.
Yeah,
because they want things they can't have unless they have an on-site accountant. The woman doesn't know how to fax something or scan and email it. Can't take a phone picture of the report, point of sale system. They're a pizza company. They're a pizza shop." And I've asked all these questions before. And Ellie goes, "Well, then how come you are that she should stay?" And I said, "It's my job to demand 100% retention."
Yes.
And absolutely. She goes, "What?" I said, "It's my job to demand 100% retention."
That is a wonderful way to look at it.
And she goes, "Oh." There's this moment where she goes, "Oh." And then it's my job to tell you that these things make this person insufficient for retention. I said, "That's right. And I got it. You're going to come tell me that from time to time, we're only going to have 95 retention this month, or we're going to have 97% retention this month."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah." My job is to demand 100% retention.
Yeah.
But in the world of developing her as an entrepreneur, she's got to get entrepreneurs wants 100% retention.
Yes. But the reality is.
But I know we're not going to get it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The standard is set there, and the bar is higher than normal, like it's say corporate, because we want to strive for the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then if we're 80% or 90%, then we're still succeeding.
That's right. That's right. But I can't set a bar less.
Yes. No, you can't. You absolutely cannot. That's unacceptable. Then it's failure. I totally understand, and I agree, and commend you on that. And
but it was great to watch her go. She didn't roll her eyes at me, but there was a sigh, and okay, I got it.
You know what? You need to start recording all these lessons because writing your own Younger Next Year version book by Simone. So I think you need to just start hit the camera every time you talk to her and say, "Hold on, we need to record this now." Okay.
But right, like there are just things in the world of performance I think as an entrepreneur that leave you enlivened as an entrepreneur.
Yes. But you know what, again, how many years of experience or generations for yourself, Alethea, and myself are we influenced by that we saw the examples of our parents? I always use this example, and I know it sounds silly, but obviously I'm old enough to remember before caller ID. And which means at dinner time, if the phone rang and I ran to get it, there was never a moment I was allowed, even at 5 or 6, I remember this, to drop the phone and yell for one of my parents. That was not allowed in our household because I never knew when it was going to be a business call for my parents. Mm-hmm. So at that age, when I answered the phone, it was, "Would you please hold on? May I ask who's calling? I will go get my father. Would you please hold for me?" Like I had to answer it as a business call at 5, and I was not allowed. Like there was a couple times the phone fell, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in trouble." Like I didn't drop it, but it fell. But that was seriously, I mean, I would walk the phone over to my dad at dinner and tell me it's a business call. So I know how to be a receptionist. That was instilled from a very young age. But those are the kind of things that are just so different, but yet I'm so grateful for that, that the training was there from day one for all of us. And I do believe that that's why we all were definitely slated to become entrepreneurs ourselves. And we absolutely need to help inspire other entrepreneurs as well. So I do have one last question for you about your particular business, and again, applying it to the group of women that are going to be watching this. When would they want to come and talk to somebody like you, or especially you? Because again, we know that you are kind of in the realm of one of the best at what you do. So, no pressure about getting new clients from this, but we want you to. So what I want to do is talk from your viewpoint of what somebody's company is growing as an entrepreneur. What would be the correct, appropriate time for them to reach out to you and say, I need your assistance. This is where we're at.
The best time is when they start to have considerations about, in the world of whether it's taxes or just maintaining what's going on with their business. So,
Okay.
like you said about your email, sometimes people are really good about keeping track of expenses, knowing where things are going, wanting to know where they are in profitability. If they're good at keeping track of stuff, great. If they're not, that's a good time.
Oh, that's perfect. So yes, again, if it's one of your weaknesses, sooner than later.
Sooner than later.
That is a great way to put it.
Like that. And if not, then come talk to us, because then we do. I'm very good about business strategies, because people have questions like, should I be an LLC? Should I be an S corp? Like that. So somewhere along that path is you're going to want to talk to somebody who can, in plain English.
Mm-hmm. In fact, within our program that is just been launched, we go through all of the steps of building business. And when we talk about LLCs and things like that, from our viewpoint, what we say is this is a very crucial step, but you need to talk to your accountant, lawyer, all of the right people. We are not going to advise you on that, but this is a step you must take right now while you are building. Because I've heard of people incorporating day one and then they drop off 2 months later and they really don't do anything with it. Whereas there's some people that go, yeah, later, and they wait until too late. So that's why it's one of those things that we advise everybody to take the time, do the education part. Know when, with your business plan and what you're planning on doing, when is the right moment to go back to this spot and then officially do all of those things. Yeah. So you are an incredibly great resource for us to be able to recommend from that viewpoint. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you or be able to DM you and then be able to find out what you guys do a little bit on a deeper level, what would be the best way? Would it be LinkedIn, or where would be the best?
LinkedIn's a good way. I'm there every day.
Okay. And it's just under your name. Is that correct?
Yeah, you go to just my name's good.
Just making sure. I always try to clarify that because, sometimes we have different last names because of marriage, things like that. So I just want to make sure ahead of time. Okay, perfect.
Find me and I'm on.
And then, Lee, is there anything else you want to add to our conversation today?
No.
You just got to sit back and enjoy again.
Yes, I did.
So
I learned some stuff.
But I will tell you, Lee loves this because of the fact, like I said, with her being a younger entrepreneur, she really represents our group. And it's been amazing because a lot of our entrepreneurs that have been in this group have reached out and told her, like, you are exactly where I'm at. So it's been a wonderful process to see this. And the knowledge that's being exchanged in this group has been just amazing. And the cheerleading has been amazing. I told my boyfriend the other day, I said, I think I will tell anybody, I'll brag and say, I think this is probably the best Facebook group I've ever seen, just because of how giving every person has been in this group and supportive. It's just been truly amazing. And we just want to see it grow. So we do have one request, and we know that we're actually going to be doing a podcast episode with you coming up very, very soon. That will be released very, very soon. So we'll get to hear more from Simone, I promise. And we will tell you it's an open invitation for you to come back anytime. If you have new projects that are launching from your company and you'd like to talk about them, you're more than welcome to come back on. We also invite other women to come on and talk about different subjects. So if you'd like to come on to any of these lives, I do know it's pretty early in the morning for you right now, and we thank you for that. Yes. But if you ever want to come jump back on with us, you are always welcome. It's open policy with us that you are now one of our crowd. So the invitation stands anytime you would like.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure to be with you both, and
Thank
Yes.
you
I
so
will-
much.
You'll see me on the jets.
Oh, good. Well, you are welcome. And same goes though for your daughter and daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
In fact, your entrepreneurs, if they would like to come on, talk about how being younger entrepreneurs within a existing business and their lessons they're learning. I would
bet you
love
Ellie
to,
would. I bet you Ellie would.
yeah,
I'll
I would
introduce
love to talk to
you
her.
guys to Ellie.
It would be
Yeah.
wonderful. So thank you so much for your time. First and foremost, is your time is valuable. And we really are honored for you giving us your time today. Thank you so
And it
much.
was a pleasure, really a treat to get to share because I love being an entrepreneur.
Yes, because again, there is no other way, right?
Yeah.
We've all been unemployable forever anyway. So
I have said that for years.
I always said if I ever tried to go back to corporate America, my boyfriend said it one time. He's like, you'd be trying to run the place in about 3 days because you see all the problems and you try to do a corporate takeover. And I'm like, yes. Okay, yes. I couldn't even argue. Yeah, I think if you stuck a bunch of us entrepreneurs back in corporate America, there would be mutiny.
Oh, yes.
I think we just leave it the way it is. And we'll do our beat to our own drum. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much, Simone. And we look forward to having you back again very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.